Pollak has appeared in dozens of great movies and TV shows, including The Usual Suspects, A Few Good Men, Willow, and Entourage. Kevin is also an excellent stand-up comedian and poker player. I don't ask about the poker playing. He's been honing all of these skills since he was a kid. Last year, he finished higher in the World Series of Poker than any other celebrity ever. And this weekend, he's doing stand-up right here in Seattle. You have an opportunity to see him at the Parlor Live in Bellevue. For tickets to the performance tonight or tomorrow night, link to parlorlive.com at bobrivers.com. And if you want to play Texas Hold'em with Kevin, check out hollywoodpoker.com. Kevin Pollak, welcome back to the Bob Rivers Show. How are you?
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you.
What crazy kind of intro was that? That was widespread and across the board. Nicely done.
Well, you know, we do. We have access to Wikipedia now, so
yeah. You must.
Yeah.
I could tell by the mention of the Entourage appearance. I'm always amazed when that one makes the list.
Really? Because is that such a small thing to you?
Yes.
It was one episode, right?
It was a show that overstayed its welcome by about 3 years, and I appeared in maybe 3 minutes. 3 minutes of one episode. So
Right.
in the vast choices. I've done a few films. I don't know the exact number, 73, but I do know that 6 of them are really good, and I would go to those before.
Yeah. You know why I put that in there? Because I loved that show.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Far be it for me to tell you not to like.
And it did overstay its welcome, though. That's interesting that you would say that. It was over for a while.
Right.
But you know what? People will still go back to a show that's over.
Of course.
Because they loved what it used to be.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. They don't want it to be over.
They don't. No, you don't want it to be over,
Yeah.
even though you know it should. It's like putting down your own dog.
As it were. Yeah. That's how I think of Entourage. It's
Still
interesting.
getting around.
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that analogy because that's exactly how I think of Entourage. It was a dog that needed to be put down.
I had my wife drive the dog.
Sure.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
No.
Yeah.
I've been there for that moment, and boy, is that a lot of fun. That doesn't stay with you
No.
for the rest of your life. Yeah.
So
Speaking of
all right,
which,
how can we rescue this? Because I felt like I gave you the greatest intro
Well,
ever.
there's a couple things you left out that I would mention.
All right,
How about
ahead.
that?
Do it.
I now do a
Podcast.
a podcast on iTunes called Talkin' Walkin', where I ramble as Christopher Walken for an hour, and it is the stupidest crap you've ever heard in your life. It's like my dinner with Andre because I have a friend come over, and so it's 2 people in conversation, different friend each time.
Is this your second podcast? Because
It
you
is.
also have your Kevin Pollak's chat show.
Well,
I
it-
have your other stuff here.
Sure, I understand.
Yeah.
And I knew
But you were on Entourage.
But talking
knew-
with Walken, I had no idea.
Talking Walken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I maybe I have the queerest brag, and that's the politically correct use of the term. It's quite popular to do a Christopher Walken impersonation these days.
You're not
But
the
if-
only person. Yeah.
If you Google the term or phrase Christopher Walken impersonation, maybe over 50,000 search answers come up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you first?
I'm number 1.
Yeah.
And you should be.
Yeah. Well, it's a queer brag. It really is.
And I love the accurate use of the term, too. Very well done.
There are about 5 pages on YouTube dedicated to Asians doing Christopher Walken. That's how international and bizarre this.
How weird would that sound?
It would sound racist if I did it. If I put an
Pedro,
Asian bent on it.
Pull up an Asian doing Christopher Walken.
Yeah, and then I'll give you the American one if we care.
Oh, absolutely.
To trip down that street. You could ask me anything, really. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
Well, my first question would be when you spend an hour as Christopher Walken
Yes.
and try to monetize it, how much money does Christopher Walken want out of that?
I want it all. I'll be honest with you. I don't understand why 100% doesn't go to my bank.
It's one thing to do a little bit on stage, but if you're going to do a whole series and never break character, then you're kind of almost.
You've got a great point there. I hadn't thought about it.
You realize you're talking to him as Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
You're talking to him as an imposter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've got a valid point, and I need to send my people after Kevin because this is wrong. Man's making too much money.
I'll ask Christopher Walken a
Please.
question. Are you flattered, Christopher, that so many people do an impression of you?
Well, I wish, to be honest with you, that a few more Asians did me. That would be nice. I don't think 5 pages is enough.
It's not enough. You think it should be bigger in Japan?
I think YouTube as a whole should be dedicated to everyone doing.
Here's someone.
You have one?
Yeah, here's someone doing it.
Here we go.
This is a serious
Will
competition.
this play
This is
as a
one.
visual in your mind's eye?
You're gonna hit. This one is really good. Listen.
All right.
What you gotta do is grab a free-range chicken. I don't care how you get it, buy it, or hunt it down with a knife. But treat the animal with respect.
Now that's especially potent if you see the face of the person.
Right.
It sounded like also slightly racist. It sounded a little bit like a Caucasian doing an Asian Christopher. Right, but if you were to get a dollop, as it were, of the face of the Asian, you might really appreciate.
Yeah.
Have you considered Chat and Shat? I mean, you're William Shatner.
William Shatner.
Yeah,
is
you
my
better
guy.
specify what you mean by that, sir.
When you Google Chat and Shat, you get an interview from a bathroom. It's awful.
Yeah.
Have you done?
People have suggested that I
Chat and Shat?
that
Chat,
I tried the Shatner conversation as well.
Are you friends? You must be friends with both of these people. I
Yes,
assume.
yes. A lot of the book is made up of stories of how I met these people, and in some cases became friends. Yeah, which is kind of surreal to mock someone like William Shatner the way I have for 30+ years, and then be considered his friend.
But he's okay with it.
Yeah,
he's okay with.
Oh no,
he
likes
doesn't take himself all that. He
Not
takes
anymore.
himself seriously. He's actually. I feel like in his more recent shows, he became a better actor.
Yeah. Oh, way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, way better. Oh boy.
Still mocking
That
him.
was so
Oh,
sweet
man.
the way you did that.
Yeah. If you look at Boston Legal, he was wonderful.
Yeah.
If you look at T.J. Hooker, he was not. Yeah.
Now, tell me about your podcasting empire, because more and more people are doing this. Do you invite people to your home?
No, there's a studio in Culver City, California,
Okay.
nearby where I live, and we stream live video almost every Sunday. I can't say every Sunday because we've missed a number over the last 4+ years.
But you invite people in, you stream the video, and
Yeah,
it's a no holds barred, no rules.
Yeah, we do our own research, so there's no pre-interview, as I said, which is kind of nice for actors, comedians, filmmakers. A lot of big filmmakers have been on. We've had 7 Academy Award winners and composers, and I drove by a Tesla dealership on the way here. We had the CEO and founder Elon Musk on for an hour, which is kind of nice to spend that much time.
Oh, now I'm dying to hear it because
with
I'm
these people.
fascinated by that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to talk to people for an hour.
Minimum. We're now up averaging about 2 hours.
Text
Okay.
messenger says that you got to listen to You with Dana Gould. That it was the funniest thing you ever heard.
If you're a fan of some of these people like Dana Gould,
And we
you
are.
will hear a side of them. Cause
One of the first comedians I had on my show was Dana Gould back in the late 70s or early 80s.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's
Amazing
been a
guy.
long time
Yeah.
favorite of mine as
Yeah.
well. I'm also from San Francisco.
So you take a whole huge hour with him and explore.
More than that, yeah. And then, well, what happens is we get to the dark side of the moon, don't we? When you spend that much time with someone. And again, you've got a wealth of areas to go to as opposed to what's going on these days, right?
So what's going on these days?
Exactly.
If we were to
scene.
get to your dark side, if we had an hour, we don't. We have 4 more minutes, but in radio, that's an eternity. If we were to get to your, like, what's the interest? Do you grow organic vegetables in a window box? Do you?
Well, I realize I should tell Jason McIntyre, my research producer, to find something else to do. He doesn't need to do the research on the backstory. I can just have the guests come in, and as you've just proven, say, you tell me some of the things we don't know about you. Yeah, we didn't have time to research it. So if you could put together a list for us.
Put together a list of stuff
things that
like,
no
had
one-
we done the work, we would actually find out.
Right, exactly. Well, you mentioned the poker thing. You know, that was for the longest time. That was just something that people who really knew me knew I cared about. And then Hollywood Poker bought me in last year's main event of the World Series of Poker. And, you know, the wish was to last a couple days. You don't hit the money until day 4 when it's down to 10% of the field. So 6,600 players at the day one. So many players, there are 3 day ones. I had to break it up over 3 different days for the first go round. So just to make the money on day 4 is crazy. Now we're down to 660 players. And I made it down to 134 eventually.
And how much does that translate?
I don't remember the exact number of money that it paid, 52,718. But
I had a feeling that was coming.
But
okay.
I do.
It was real money. It was real money. Now, to win at poker, I don't know that much about it, but I've known some people who are serious into it. You have to have a certain kind of mind that remembers things, right? I mean, you have to be gifted in a sense, correct?
Yeah. I noticed that some players specialize in just that. They are these sort of masters of remembering everything. To me, it's about being a little bit more well-rounded. So that's part of it. That's one component, is remembering people's gestures and so-called tells. The other part of it is position at the table, a huge part of the game.
Okay, I'm going to back up, because when you said well-rounded, I was like, oh, I'll go home and I'll try to be more well-rounded, and I realized that meant nothing to me. What does being more well-rounded mean?
Okay.
Just give me a little more, yeah. I'm going to pretend I have an hour. I really don't. I'm almost done. But
Do you mean in poker or in life?
Both.
Listen to her. It's
Are
good.
they the same? Are they the same thing? Is the fact?
Yes.
Are you, when you say that, are you saying I can see all of the other players and I empathetically figure out where they're all coming from? Is that what well-rounded means?
But play the player, not the cards. Is
Okay,
one of the things you learn. Position and opponent.
So you're looking at every gesture, at every expression on everybody's face.
Yeah,
and you're sizing up the room more so than counting cards.
Way more.
Wow.
Yeah. The thing about the World Series that taught me, first of all, it's 13 hours a day you're playing.
It's a grind.
For 5 days in my case.
Good Lord.
13
Do they do
hours.
this in China at Foxconn? I mean, this is
Exactly.
hard work.
They'd love to go home. They wish they could go home.
Every
They can't
2
go home.
hours, there are 20-minute breaks, but you play over a 13-hour period. And when my sort of decision going into it, my goal, my main agenda was do not get in a situation where bad luck can take you out. Because bad luck's coming to all of, except for the one person who ends up winning. Somewhat every other player at some point will leave the table, leave the room, leave the tournament because of some bad beat, they call it. My pocket aces got cracked. You'll hear 500 times in a course of 5 days. I was at a table where in the course of one day, 6 people went into the hand. You start with 2 cards. If they're both aces, that's the best starting hand. They call it pocket aces. So I saw 6 players during the course of a day have pocket aces, have a position of going all in, hoping to double up, and all 6 went home.
It seems to me the elements it takes to be a good poker player are the same things it would take to be a good politician, president. Do you think that a game of poker will be a better way to pick a leader than an election?
I do, actually. I think the World Series of Poker should,
I really do.
should not just give someone $6 million, but make them the president of the United States.
And if you can answer one,
That's a great point.
Would you be President Pollak or President Walken if you were the...
I would definitely be President Walken.
I'll
Throw any international problem at me right now. I'll show you how I'll handle it.
Syria.
Any political situation.
What do you do about Syria?
Syria. Well, here's what we do. We go out for chicken.
There you go.
Yeah, we sit down. We have a big bucket of chicken, and we talk things through. You know, because when your hands get greasy, you forget your problems. I've noticed.
How about, speaking of talking, how about all this NSA spying? If you were president, Mr. Walken, would you allow...
I would put the pedal to the metal. I would listen more.
All in.
Yeah.
Poker. Again,
I would go all in.
in.
With the listening.
Hey, there's an age-old debate that I'm strongly on one side, but I respect your position as a player, and I'll take your word as gospel on this.
All right.
Is poker a game or a sport?
Oh boy. Well, I think it's a game. I think that it's the baseball is the perfect example of all the sports. That is to say, it is a thinking man's game. You rarely hear the term thinking man's sport. So yeah, I mean...
That should be in stone somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
outside of the Hall of Game.
Yeah, you have to get to like the 7th level of Spock chess. I like. Remember when Spock?
Yeah,
I remember those
yeah,
different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
different plateaus
Yeah.
of the chessboard. That you really do.